Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to yet another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com. And tonight I'm doing my second live stream of the day. I wanted to do a little bit of
We good there, Josh?
Did I cut
There we
out
go.
there? Did I
Yeah,
cut out?
you're back now. You're back now.
Where did I cut out at?
From the intro out, so I heard a little bit, but
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah,
Anyway, well, what I was going to say is welcome back to another video, everybody. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com. And tonight
I
I'm
heard
doing
that
my
part.
second live stream of the night. And today I got Michael Darcy of KC Sports Report to do a little bit of a state of the Chiefs report, given that the Chiefs just lost one of the more frustrating games in recent memory to the Cincinnati Bengals, 34-31, a walk-off field goal to win it for the Bengals. And Michael, what were your thoughts on today's game? Obviously, you did your post game and I did
Yeah.
mine. So our fans who watch both of those kind of know, but I want to hear it from you myself.
Yeah, I think that, and I tip my cap to him because Jamar Chase, you just gotta sometimes just shout out greatness. That was greatness today, going for three
Yeah.
touchdowns and 260 plus. Like at some point, it's just like okay, like Jamar Chase is just going out there and getting catches. Like he can't really be over the moon disappointed because he just did his thing. But also, the Chiefs had so many questionable calls and coaching decisions that they made. And I think that really is the bigger takeaway. Like Jamar Chase was great and all, but you still could have won this game. You were up by 2 touchdowns. You should
Looks
have
like you're
won
cutting
this
out just
game.
a little bit.
Am I still cutting
There we
out?
go. You're back. No, you're
Okay.
back.
But I just think that, the Chiefs had the game in the bag, so to speak. They're up by 2 touchdowns, and the offense just took the pedal off the gas, or their or their foot off the gas, and then they just didn't really do anything in the second half. They didn't get a ton of turnover or a ton of possessions in the second half, but they did a pretty poor job of playing a complete game.
See, and I didn't bring this up in my post game, but I wonder why there was such a drastic change in the pace of the offense in the second half, whether that was Andy Reid like taking his foot off the gas or if they just the players, there was not really a sense of urgency or anything, but there were signs of this game going towards a shootout in the first half. Because
Mhm.
even when the Chiefs had 28 points, the Bengals were right there, and it felt like, hey, if the Chiefs just keep doing what they're doing, they'll still win this game. But in the second half, I mean, 3 points from the offense. And look, the defense gave up 34 points. I know some of it's on the refs. And really, it's not ideal when your defense gives up 34 points. And it's hard to blame the offense when they put up 31 points. But with the pace that they were on, to only get 3 points in that second half was really disappointing to me.
Especially when, like you said, you almost had 35 in the first half if Byron Pringle doesn't get his
Yeah.
kick return touchdown taken off the board. Like you could have dropped 35. And that, I guess, would have been
Yeah.
enough to win the game. But I mean, you got to score more than 3 points. You know that offense on the other side is good. That's just, I mean, Andy Reid, conservative play calling. That's typical Andy Reid. I mean, I can't say that I'm surprised. I just thought that he would have handled some of the more important coaching decisions in the final 2 minutes of the game with better judgment, so to speak.
And I'm going to ask you about that now because I was pretty pissed off about that, the way that he handled the last couple of minutes of that game. I didn't, from a lot of the people that I listened to for my typical post game Chiefs content, I did not hear a lot of people really bring that up or go in depth on that. I hated the way he approached that. I
Terrible.
thought you had a much better chance of just letting them score and putting the game in Patrick Mahomes' hands than getting a stop there and wasting all your timeouts like that. Why? Like that's not your team's strength. Why would you bet on your defense there? And I don't know. I feel like that was the low percentage move because most of the time when teams try that, they don't get the stop. And even if you do, like, they're going to get a field goal at the very
Yeah.
minimum. But by the time they get the field goal, you've wasted all your timeouts and there's less than a minute left. And that's just, uh, to me, that was not smart at all by
You
Andy
know,
Reid.
yeah, everyone harps back to the 3rd and 27 completion to Jamar that got the first down. That was atrocious. You shouldn't have sent all pressure. You should have uh, probably just played prevent, and so they couldn't get the first down. But I think
Yeah.
Andy Reid's decision to let the defense go play hero ball and try to win the game right there, I think that's what costed the Chiefs this game, because you can't tell
Yeah.
me that if you would have let the Bengals score, it would have been worse, that it would have been better to just give the ball to Patrick Mahomes in the offense with a minute 45 left. Like, that is the ideal situation. Put the game in the hands of your best player and not your defense. Because, like you said, worst case scenario, they still get a field goal, and now you're out all your timeouts and you've wasted a minute. Like, it made no
Mhm.
sense. It didn't make sense in the time, and it doesn't make sense now. And I don't know who made the decision, but that's the kind of stuff that we need to see get corrected come playoff time. Because could you imagine if this cost us a playoff game?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah,
you know
because
how infuriating that would be?
Cincy is a team they could see in the playoffs, and they could have seen before this. And now it's actually good that you have this first game to, have takeaways and stuff like that. Be like, okay, this is something we need to do different next time. But man, yeah, could you imagine if this was like the next round or the second round of the playoffs and the Chiefs play the Bengals and they just let Jamar Chase kick their ass? I mean, what an embarrassing way to go out that would be.
Yeah. Like, and people are on Twitter like,
Um,
"Oh, he's just a rookie." Like, dude,
Go
like,
ahead.
sorry. Like, people on Twitter are like, "Oh, he's just a rookie. This is embarrassing. How are the Chiefs letting this happen?" Jamar Chase isn't just a rookie. He's that dude. Like, he is already, you could argue, a top 10 wide receiver in the league. And like, sure, there's shame in giving up
He
that many
was today,
yards.
that's for sure.
There is yards on, or there is some reason to complain for giving up that many yards, but like I said earlier in the stream, it's just like there were a couple times where I thought that Ward's coverage was good. He just made a phenomenal catch. And I think that you could put 2 or 3 guys in that
Yeah.
way and he's still going to come down with it.
Well, before we get in depth on that, I did want to mention one more thing about the last drive of the game. Uh, a lot of people will argue that technically what Reed's approach was worked because they got him in fourth down. The Bengals went for it and they didn't convert. Well, actually, see, they technically did convert because Joe Mixon actually got in, but then there was the negating penalties. But then people say, "Oh, well, the Bengals actually had a false start that the refs missed." Which, in RGR football, Ryan Tracy he mentioned this in this post game, and I was screaming this in mine. With the way that the refs were calling the game, the coaching staff has to adjust to that. Like you knew that the refs weren't calling a clean game, so again, that's why that approach down the end there was stupid. You should have just
Yeah.
gave the ball back to Patrick and let them score because you're banking on your defense getting a stop and the refs not pulling any shenanigans, and both of those happened. Uh,
Yeah.
so
And like the worst case scenario happened. They were able to get a first down and then milk it to a field goal. Like that, any shred of chance that you were going to have to win that game got negated when they got that first down. Like all that was for
yeah,
nothing. Like the timeouts that you wasted, it just give the ball back to Pat, Andy. We've seen him do it so many times. It's just do what our strength is. And I'm not going to lie, I thought the offense moved the ball fairly well today.
oh yeah, they did. They moved the ball at will, especially in the first half. They moved it at will, and it still didn't matter. But we were talking about Jamar Chase before I took us back a little bit there. But what I was gonna say is that you're just not gonna win a lot of games when you let one single player go off like that. Um, there was just too many times where, I mean, he had his way, and Spags didn't give the defensive backs any help. They put Charvarius Ward and Rashad Fenton on an island with him multiple times, and it didn't really work out. And I thought it should have been Snead shadowing him more. And I know Snead is great in the slot and everything like that, and you like to have him there, but you have other guys that can play well in the slot in place of Snead. That was a scenario where you should have put Snead on him. He's your best cornerback, and Ward, even though he was in position, he's not that kind of cornerback. He's not the type of cornerback that you can ask to keep a receiver like Jamar Chase in check the entire game. Like he was going to beat him eventually, and he did multiple times. And Charvarius Ward, I didn't see this till after my post game, but I guess on one of his passes defended on Chase, he did the greedy dance, which is like Jamar
Yeah.
Chase's signature right in front of him. Why did you do that? You were just asking for him to come back and burn you, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I also thought Rashad Fenton got a little out of hand with the emotion and stuff like that at times. Like they were lucky they didn't get any other flags with the way they've called taunting this year. Like I would just be careful if I were them. But yeah, man, it's tough. And Spags, and I said in my post game once again that I never fully forgave Spags for the
Yeah.
fiasco that was the defense at the beginning of the year. And I still haven't, because even though people don't talk about it because the Chiefs have been winning, but he still sneaks Dan Sorensen onto the field.
Mhm.
He still plays Ben Neiman on money downs. And it's just, and again, they haven't been as much of an eyesore as of recently, and the defense has been playing better, and the Chiefs have been winning, so no one talks about it. Everyone gives Spags a pass. But I said one of these games, it's going to come back to bite him. Sorensen's going to get picked apart again, and Sorensen was solely responsible for one of Jamar Chase's touchdowns, and that's on Spags because Spags, you fixed this shit at the beginning of the year, putting Juan Thornhill back there for a majority of the time. And since you've done that, you've been trying to creep Dan back in there thinking no one would notice. And we have noticed, and it's stupid. And he needs to stop. I don't understand Spags' affinity for Dan Sorensen. And it seems like there's no end in sight.
Yeah. My thing is you can make a mistake once, that's fine. But if you're making the same mistakes over and over and over again, that's inexcusable. Like at some point,
Yeah.
like someone needs to have some sort of accountability. And I would almost hope that, you know, Andy goes to Steve and says, "Hey, like we gotta bench Dan." Because Dan did give up one of the touchdowns to Jamar today. Like he missed the cut. I don't even
Mm-hmm.
know. I think he was trying to cover the tight end and he missed the tight, and it was an ugly just turn of events, and it was basically a wide open catch, and he just ran it into the end zone. So I think that
Yeah.
Sorensen's still a problem, but today I think that the bigger problem was like we kind of talked about, you had Ward and Fenton on an island with Jamar, and he had like 100 yards in the first half, and you didn't do shit. Like what?
Yeah.
At what point is it just like, oh, we're confident in our guys? And I said this last week. Like it takes a lot of guts to do press man coverage because you got to really trust your guys. And I think the Chiefs have some good guys in Rashad Fenton. And Charvarius Ward's played great football this year. But
Uh huh.
as I've been on for the longest time, Spags does not put guys in the right position to succeed. Dan Sorensen out in coverage, that's just a nightmare waiting to happen. You are going to see better results when you put Dan Sorensen, quite frankly, on the bench. But if you put guys and give help to guys that are struggling, like if you would have doubled Jamar Chase in the second half, start of the second half, you probably would have won this game. And you really can't tell me otherwise.
Yeah, Spags just does not consistently put guys in positions to succeed. Another recent example, the Chargers game where I think it was Willie Gay was out, and they tried Nick Bolton a lot in dime, and he played more snaps than Hitchens. He significantly outsnapped Hitchens, and that Chargers game was probably his best game as a Chief. And it's like, well, that's what happens when you play Bolton more snaps, because they were
Yeah.
doing this thing where right when Anthony Hitchens came back and Bolton was coming off a defensive rookie of the month bid, they made Bolton split snaps with Hitchens, and Bolton was playing like 20 snaps a game. Bolton's way too good to only be playing 20 snaps a game, but it's this odd affinity, whatever it is, soft spot for these lesser players, and Spags just plays them like Hitchens and Sorensen and Neiman. And one more time, I'll say it. We've let it slide because the Chiefs have been winning. The defense has been playing well, but there was always going to be a time where it came back to bite you. And today was that
Yeah.
day.
And I will say one thing, like this defense, because everyone's like, the Chiefs haven't beaten a good team. Like I would argue that they have. The Raiders right now, if they win next week, they're a playoff team. But I think the Chiefs defensively have changed a lot of things, obviously, from the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. Like, they might not be the best defense in the league like they looked like over that stretch where they really weren't playing anybody, but like they are a better defense
Right.
clearly than what they were in the first 5 games of the season. Now, it's not going to help any defensive scheme when you're missing your assignments and you're not tackling guys. And that I think isn't going to happen from here on out. Like, I think they're going to get back on track because, I mean, you could contest to this. Has tackling guy or missing tackling guys really been a problem this year? At least when they were performing well?
Right. Yeah, no, in this recent 8 game winning streak, no. I mean, and a lot of it has been like gang tackling. Like every chief is around whatever player has the ball. I've noticed that a lot more.
Yeah.
They don't miss a ton of tackles today. I don't know what it was, if the Bengals put Vaseline on their jerseys or what, because guys were just not wrapping up. They were missing tackles. I don't know what was going on. At the beginning of the year, it was an issue, but in this stretch in which they've been dominating, I don't think it's been an issue. If it was, then their you know, I do think that when it comes to this defense, that they've beaten some good opponents. I don't think it's a fluke.
Mhm.
They did beat some good teams because let's remember at the beginning of the year, this team was giving up like 300 yards passing to Jalen Hurts and the Eagles.
Yeah.
That that was what this defense was at one point. The Cowboys, that was a really good win. The Chargers without Chris Jones, without Willie Gay, without L'Jarius Sneed, if those games were played at the beginning of the year, I mean, I know the Chiefs technically played the Chargers at the beginning of the year, and you see the result, like they lost that game, and it was because the defense was just so bad.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that this defense is good enough to win a Super Bowl. And I think the offense played okay today. I think at times they look damn near unstoppable, but it's just being consistent. You got to play 4 quarters of football to win. And they didn't do that today. I don't think they did that in really either side of the ball. But I also think that, as we kind of talked about off the stream, I'd rather find this out in week 17 than in the fucking wild card weekend. Like
Mhm.
this is the time where you figure this stuff out because I'd rather make these mistakes now than in the playoffs because the margin for error in the playoffs is less than the NFL season, and the NFL already doesn't have much margin for error.
Yeah, I think you were cutting out a tiny bit, but caught
Okay,
most of what you said.
okay. I,
Um,
I was just basically
no,
saying
so
that. Okay, you're good.
no, it's okay. I heard most of it. I just wasn't sure
Okay.
if you were done talking yet, because you know how like it cuts out and it's like I don't know if he's still
Yeah,
talking or if he finished. But so honestly, I do think that the Chiefs really messed up at the beginning of the year because they gave themselves a razor thin margin for error during this win streak. We were hoping that they would run the table, and it looked like they were going to run the table at one point. Obviously, that's no longer possible because they lost to the Bengals today. But they should have never been at the point where they had to run the table to keep the 1 seed. They were lucky to even be holding the 1 seed for as long as they did. Anyway,
yeah,
it's crazy. But another game that I kind of relate this one to was 2019 when they won the Super Bowl. And I think it was week 12, they lost to the Tennessee Titans. And it was like they were playing better, right before that Titans game, but then they just melted down in that game. And it was like that one last gut punch right before the playoffs to really get this team into gear. And I kind of feel like that's what this Bengals game was too. Like, I'm not concerned about any aspect of the Chiefs long term. Well, Andy Reid's clock management, I think that's always going to be an issue. That's the only one from today that I would, be a little bit worried about. But
mhm,
this one does feel a little bit like that Titans loss from a couple years ago before the postseason, where it's like it's that last just kind of reality check, like, hey, you guys need to clean this shit up. And then they never lost again after that.
yeah,
And they were
and
the 2 seed that year as well. And
yeah,
they're the 2 seed now. And you mentioned that in your post game. They were the Super Bowl champion when they were the 2 seed. Now, what I will say is that being a 2 seed now is actually worse than it was back then because with the new playoff format, you
yeah.
don't get a bye as the 2 seed. And before the 2 seed got a bye, but still.
Yeah. And I think that's a great comparison because I remember that Titans game in 2019. Like the Chiefs didn't play poorly. Patrick Mahomes was coming off an injury and he looked great. And it was one of those fluke games where, ironically, time management for Andy Reid ended up coming back to bite him. And, it was one of those games where it's like you didn't play poorly, you just lost in a fluke. And if there's any game in which I kind of think that you lost out of stuff that you really couldn't control, it was this game. Like, I understand Jamar went crazy, but there were some calls that you really couldn't deal with. And having them go for it on 4th and goal twice because one of them it's just like it was a crazy turn of events. And I think that that's a pretty good comparison because both games just had wild finishes. And I think that, the Chiefs are going to get better because of this loss. Like, I fully expect them to learn from their mistakes.
Yeah, and they've shown in the past multiple times that they usually do learn from their mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, they'd obviously love to have this the 1 seed because the 1 seed gets the bye. But, I think that whether they're at home or even, I mean, Mahomes has never gone on the road, but they're still going to host a home playoff game. I do think that the Chiefs can go on the road and win in the playoffs.
Well, and they're still going to have most of their games at home. The only scenario in which they're not at home is if they play the Titans, which we'll see if that happens. And that's also assuming, I want to bring up this comment from Philip Johnson real quick because he keeps screaming it in the chat, but we can still get the number 1 seed if the Titans lose next week. And if we win, of course. But I don't know, man. I don't know if I see the Titans losing to the Texans. The Texans have been a little frisky this year and have pulled off some surprising wins, but I don't know. I think that's a long shot.
They already beat them once this year, but yeah, I don't think it's going to happen twice. But wouldn't that be something?
Yeah,
wouldn't that be something?
Maybe. Just maybe we'll see it happen. Do want to remind you guys watching, though, we've got a nice little crowd in here considering I put this up last minute. But like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And, of course, go subscribe to KC Sports Report. He's been crushing it over on his channel lately. And hopefully we can get Lucas Murphy back on sometime soon. I know you guys missed the 3 of us together. But
yes,
also,
you
support the channel by donating through Super Chat as well and everything. I know I'm cutting out a little bit, but hopefully you guys caught most of that.
I think we did catch most of it. So really quickly, because I wanted to talk about this. It's not really Chiefs related, but what were your thoughts on the Antonio Brown thing?
Well, it was definitely not something I've ever seen happen in the NFL. I mean, well, we've seen Vontae Davis retire at halftime, but even that looks like graceful compared to what happened today because I mean, the dude straight up left in the middle of the game with, it was crazy. And I think Antonio Brown is probably done in the NFL. I mean, he's just had so many chances. Tom Brady vouched for him. He let him live in his house. He convinced Bruce Arians to bring him in. And if I'm Tom Brady, honestly, I'm pissed because I did everything to help Antonio Brown and he quits on my team in the middle of the game. I think Antonio Brown is done.
Yeah. And, everyone's quick to say, oh, it's CTE. Oh, it's CTE. Antonio Brown's just a clown. Like, he's just not a good sport, not a very good dude, especially because you guys remember kind of why he was out of the league in the first place for a little bit. Not good stuff, questioning his character. But, like, that to me isn't CTE. That's just, like, you're just being stupid. And I don't know why he did it either. Like, I can't find a reason as to why. Like, I heard that Bruce Arians, like, I guess said sit on the bench and he just lost it.
Yeah, and look, I won't rule out that maybe he has CTE or whatever.
Oh, of course.
He could, but I mean, he is someone that, just like you said, is a clown. And I don't think you can just blame it all on CTE. And people say he needs help. He needs help. I just mentioned, like, Tom Brady let this dude live in his house multiple times, actually. When he was in New England and in Tampa Bay, he vouched for him. He's tried to help him. You can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped. And Antonio Brown doesn't want to be helped.
Mm-hmm. You see, he dropped the rap song?
Yes, I did. I hadn't listened to it, but I saw that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I have. It's not great, but
it's almost like he planned it.
Yeah, seriously, it was a PR stunt, but that's gotta because you think Bruce Arians is just like, what is going on? Like, because I guess this happened during the game, or I know it happened during the game, but it happened like while the Bucks were on the field. He just started taking off his stuff and just running through the end zone.
Yeah. Crazy. I think you cut out a little bit again, but you can hear me
It's
now, right?
okay. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, cool. I didn't want to bring up this comment because I want to give or get your thoughts on this. Scotty Flamingo says, "Give Gore the damn ball." I am a little puzzled by Gore's usage and how in a game he'll like have an amazing play. Like today, he had that run that he took to the second level in the first quarter and got right up to the goal line, and you just really never see him again.
Yeah.
I think he's the best running back on the team, and it's like not even close. And they just kind of his usage is it's puzzling. It really is.
Yeah, I'm in a group chat and the other two are Chiefs fans and they are critical of Clyde, but they hate me because I'll come in the chat and I'm like, "Damn, Clyde's really not he's like the worst running back on this team." Did you see what
Yeah,
Daryl did today? Daryl looked phenomenal. He was just
he
running
did.
downhill and he was making some big runs that we haven't seen Clyde do in his career. And Derek
Uh
Gore,
huh.
I think, should be getting a lot more touches. But like, what does Clyde do that is better than any other back on this team? Like,
And
I
I
don't
we've
see
had
it.
this conversation so many times, but both between me and you to our viewers, and the people defending him is just insane. There was this tweet from Carrington Harrison of 610 Sports Radio. I'm going to try to find it because I think it speaks to how just disappointing Clyde has been. And Nick Jacobs over at KHSB, I think it is, he was doing some film review last week, and there were several plays against the Steelers in which Clyde just missed the cutback lane or ran right into the pile for 2 yards. And he does that a lot. But today with Daryl, I was really surprised how many of his runs like went for substantial gains, not just 2 or 3 yards, like 5, 6, 7 yards, just wearing down the Bengals defense. But anyway, I'm going to try to find this tweet if you have anything to add to that.
I think that they should give Derek more of a shot. Like at this point, Clyde's not playing. And I think I said this on Twitter. I said it somewhere. I think this team is better running the ball when Clyde's on the football field. And that sounds bad. I know you said it, and I think Seth Kaiser jumped on you, but like, and you weren't bashing because he got hurt, but let's face it, he's an injury prone running back, and he's not really been that good.
Yeah, that was a weird interaction actually because I feel like I'm not the first person in the world to bring that up when a player gets hurt. That man, and I didn't mean it as like I
Glad
all
you
I
got hurt,
said was
Clyde.
that he
That's
just
not,
can't
yeah,
stay healthy.
yeah,
All I said is he can't seem to stay healthy, which again does not bode well for him being, this powerful force in Kansas City. But anyway, I found it. So a few weeks ago, Carrington, he tweeted, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has 291 rush attempts in his career. 3 have gone for over 20 yards. 3. Now, to put that into perspective, Patrick Mahomes has 227 rush attempts in his career. 12 have gone for over 20 yards. And then he quote tweeted that today, following up with Derek Gore, and said, Derek Gore now has his second rush attempt over 20 yards in his 42nd career carry. And he's one shy of tying the amount that Clyde Edwards-Helaire has. And this guy is a first round freaking pick. And
yeah.
he has one of the best run blocking offensive lines in football. And he's just not dynamic. He's not explosive. He doesn't give you big plays down the field. I'm just
He's
not
not good.
impressed
He's
at
not
all.
good in short yardage either. If you got to punch it in,
Mhm.
you going with Clyde? No, you're going with Daryl or you're going with Derek. He's not. And that's what I keep trying to tell my friends. This is what I'm trying to tell everybody. In what situation you saying, hey, we want you, Clyde. We want you to take this carry. I don't know. Is there a situation which is that's a valid like question? I don't think there is.
He's also fumbled the ball 3 times this year, and Darrell Williams hasn't fumbled at all.
Yeah.
At least not from what I remember. I could
And
go and double check, but I don't think Darrell has fumbled this year.
Daryl's been a more valuable piece to this team than Clyde has. In the way that he's been able to catch the ball out of the backfield and the way that he's stepped up and been better than Clyde when he has been hurt. Like that, I can't, and I think I was listening to C Dot too. He was talking about how it's just would be foolish to give Daryl more carries over Clyde because just the yards per carry. I think yards per carry, and you talked about this too. It's not
Yeah, I
the
just made a
end
video on
all.
that.
It's not the end all be all. Like it shouldn't be the end all be all. I just think that not everything can be just a number. Not everything can be defined as, oh, his yards per carry is 4.3 and Clyde's is this. Like it's just watching football. If you watch the Kansas City Chiefs, you would know the Chiefs offense just fits better when Darrell Williams is getting involved. It just does.
And I think and I think Mahomes is much more comfortable passing to Darrell Williams. I think they have a connection that him and Clyde just don't seem to have for whatever reason. And going back to the yards per carry thing, I hate it because people go, and I do think Clyde is like a slightly better runner than Darrell Williams. But people go, oh, he's so much better. Darrell sucks. He's not that good. And they point to the yards per carry, but what do your eyes tell you? What does the eye test say? Because to me, Daryl's more effective. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole yards per carry thing, why it frustrates me so much is like, for example, the Washington game earlier this year. I think that was the first game after Clyde got hurt. Darrell Williams played in that game as the starter, and he had 2 touchdowns. And people pointed to the fact that he had a 2.9 yards per carry. Well, I did the research. He had 4 yards per carry before the final drive of that game. And then the Chiefs gave him 4 straight handoffs up the middle that weren't really meant to go anywhere to run
Yeah.
out the clock after the game had already been won. And that skewed his yards per carry. And then everyone's going, oh, he wasn't that good, only 2.9 yards per carry. But that's by just looking at yards per carry and using that as your sole statistic is stupid because, I mean, without context, it just doesn't mean that much.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you've seen Clyde and Daryl play, I like Clyde's had a couple okay moments this year, but like most of the time he's just meh. He's average, and I think a lot of Chiefs fans, there's the ones that think that he's still going to be something, and Clyde's not a bad football player. He's not a bad one.
No.
He's just not the best on this team. Like I just think that there's other guys that can do his job better, and I think that a lot of it comes down to his height because I think that his vision in college was proclaimed as great. The guys in college were a little bit different. You get smaller guys in college. The NFL is the best of the best. You have the best athletes, and sometimes that vision doesn't translate. The vision for sure is not translated for Clyde because his vision's terrible.
Yeah. It's definitely not consistent. People raved about it. They also raved about his pass catching, and he hasn't done that either. He just hasn't really shown much of anything. I'm still waiting for the day he has like a big 40, 50-yard touchdown run. And I think that's what this Chiefs offense is missing at running back is a running back that can give you a home run play. We've seen it from Derek Gore a couple times, but they're just not insistent on giving Derek Gore the ball for whatever reason. And by the way, Derek Gore's career long run, 51 yards. You want to know Clyde's 31, and Clyde gets significantly more opportunity than Derek Gore.
That's what we call
And
first round pick privileges.
yeah,
If Clyde was
it
the
just frustrates
UDFA,
me.
he wouldn't even be on this team.
Yeah, I'm disappointed, man. I can't believe we didn't take Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, but part of me is like, Jonathan Taylor is a great player, but Jonathan Taylor probably wouldn't be Jonathan Taylor in our offense just because we're not giving Jonathan Taylor 30 carries a game. Like this is Mahomes' offense. So that makes it a little bit easier, but to be quite honest with you, I wish they would have taken an edge rusher, but or at the time it was a linebacker. But I can't complain. I think Willie Gay is pretty good, but yeah, I probably would have gone elsewhere.
Yeah, I just am not impressed with him, and I'm just waiting for the rest of Chiefs Kingdom to finally give it up on him because he's not that good. Like he's nothing special to me. He's like Charkandrick West with the first round draft pick status. Like
Yeah.
it's just the truth. Yeah, I mean, anything else you want to talk about from this game? I don't want to wrap up too early. We've only been going for
Yeah.
like half an hour. I'm not trying to wrap it up or anything, but I'm just genuinely curious if you have anything else to talk about from this game.
I kind of want to talk. I guess we can save the playoff talk for a little bit because it's fun to just like look over all the potential matchups and just like, oh, well, this could
Yeah.
happen if this happened. But I mean, I think the overall message should be just if Spags can learn to adjust, and if you fix some of the stuff that's minor, because like missing tackles, it turned out to be major, but it's not usually such a big deal. They're going to tone that down. I haven't seen them turn the ball over in a long time. They look like they've gotten much better at that. But I also think for the Chiefs fans that are watching this, the playoffs are a completely different animal. These teams that are succeeding in the regular season, they don't have any postseason experience. What's going to happen when Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have to play in a playoff game? We don't know. The Chiefs have the most playoff experience out of any team in the AFC. Maybe not named the Buffalo Bills. No, they have more experience than the Buffalo Bills. So it's just like when it comes to that, I think the Chiefs are definitely at an advantage that way. But these are problems that you're going to have to correct. And if you don't, you're going to be going home in about 2 weeks.
And if they do play again in the playoffs, it's going to be at Arrowhead, not in Cincinnati. And I think if this game is played in Arrowhead today, things might be a little bit different because I feel like the defense would have played better if the energy from the crowd was there. And especially the pass rush. I think the pass rush is something that most feeds off the energy from the crowd. And I thought the pass rush was a little bit, they left a little bit to be desired today.
See, I mean, they weren't supplying super consistent pressure, but they had 3 sacks. Like
Mhm.
Jerron Reed got to him, Chris Jones got to him, your boy Frank Clark got to him.
Mhm.
Like they were able to at least get some pressure. But I would argue, like when you sacked Joe Burrow and to make it 3rd and 27, we saw how that went. So it's just like I don't know. I thought the defensive line was not great today, but I also don't think that they were the problem. I think if you would have doubled Jamar Chase, you probably would have won this game.
Yeah, no, they weren't bad at all, but it's like if they could just have gotten a stop a couple more times, and it sucks because it's not really their fault. It's Spags' fault for blitzing an all-out
Yeah.
blitz on 3rd and 27. And I said this on my post game, but it seems like the Chiefs, more than any other team, always give up those like 3rd and forever plays, and it's like I always have a sinking feeling that they're gonna let the offense convert on like 3rd and 15, 3rd and 16. A lot of time there's just some guy that's randomly wide open. They get a first down. I feel like that happens to us more than ever, more than anyone else.
Well, at least it wasn't a screen pass. I would have pulled out my hair because I would have.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have seen that. Like it would ugly. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to learn questionable coaching or if you're going to learn about your coaching mistakes, I'd rather learn about it now than in the playoffs because, I don't think Andy Reid makes that mistake twice. And I think, like I said, playoff experience, it's going to come back to ultimately help that team.
Yeah. What did you think of Lucas Niang going
Yeah.
down? And also, what did you think of Joe Tooney filling in for him at left tackle?
So I actually thought that, obviously Lucas Niang going down is not good. But we've kind of been without him a lot this year, and our right tackle's been just fine. But I
That's
will
what I
say
said.
this: Joe Tooney played left tackle in college a little bit. Joe Tooney looked really good. I
Yeah.
thought Lucas Niang looked pretty good too in the amount of time that he was in. I thought that Joe Tooney looked almost at times looked like he was better than Orlando Brown. Dare I say? Like
Yeah.
Joe Tooney looked really good. He was just manhandling Trey Hendrickson. Like it was really impressive to see. And you need to
And
have guys that are. Go ahead.
Trey Hendrickson, just real quick, he had a sack in like 12 straight games coming into this game
He's
too.
got like
Like he was on
14
fire.
sacks. He's got 14
Yeah.
sacks. And Joe Tooney, our left guard, just switched over to left tackle, which is a completely different position. And he held his own, and he more than held his own. And I think that, God forbid we get in this instance again in the Super Bowl. Uh, Joe Tooney is a pretty good left tackle to have if your backup gets hurt again.
Hmm.
He's better
It,
than
it just speaks to
Mike
the
Remmers.
it speaks to the depth that this team has created along the offensive line. I've given Brett Veach a lot of crap for the way he's managed some of these other positions that I think they should have added a little bit more to, like cornerback. But you know, the depth created along the offensive line is just unmatched. I mean, you can put the Chiefs back up at every offensive line position on the field, and they're still better than half of the units in the league.
I will say, I wish they would have probably kept LDT because LDT, especially now with Niang going down, probably would have been good to have because, you know, I think, I guess we don't know what Kyle Long can do. So, I mean, I guess our depth is fine, but God forbid Orlando Brown
See,
gets hurt or something like that happens.
right. I think, like you said, because I mentioned it myself, I think Lucas Niang has been gone enough, and the Chiefs have learned to live without him enough to where, I mean, it sucks losing him, but I think Kyle Long, Andrew Wiley, and Mike Remmers is a fine right tackle group. Like you can get by with those guys in your right tackle room.
Oh, I agree. Offensive line should not be the problem at all.
No, they have more than enough to get by, and really, Andrew Wiley has stepped up. He's been playing way above my expectations. He was rough when he first got stuck there at right tackle, like against Dallas and Micah Parsons. And Micah Parsons is a tough matchup for anyone,
Yeah.
let alone Andrew Wiley. But Wiley has been really good since then.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think that the offensive line turnaround is a big reason why the Chiefs offense got better magically. It definitely didn't help. Mahomes has now become confident in the pocket, stepping up in the pocket instead of escaping it. And I think it really shows to why this offense turned around.
Yeah, absolutely. Heck, even Allegretti, who subbed in at left guard when they moved Tooney to left tackle, was road grading in the run
Yeah.
game and looked pretty good himself.
Yeah, Nick Allegretti, he loves when we run the ball. He's a big physical dude, and honestly, like he's a guy that I wouldn't want starting, but if it really has to happen, he's more than capable of getting the job done. I remember last year, I think
Hmm.
it was against Buffalo. We had Dan Kilgore as our center, and then Nick Allegretti. They were just running the ball.
Yeah.
Like
By
that's
the
all they
way, I
needed to
thought
do.
Dan Kilgore was always better than Austin Ryder, but for some reason they always stuck with Austin Ryder.
Yeah, I guess Dan
But
Kilgore
it's
retired.
whatever.
I think.
Yeah, he did. I'm pretty sure. And Andrew Wiley can't seem to find anywhere to land, which can't say I'm surprised, but
Yeah, I don't know. Didn't he get signed by the Dolphins, then cut by the Dolphins, or I can't
yeah,
remember.
he was there for a couple weeks because their center got hurt, and then he came back healthy, and so they cut Wiley. They didn't need him anymore.
I'll tell you what, that
Or
Dolphins O
not
line,
Wiley, sorry, Ryder.
yeah, that Dolphins O line probably should have kept Ryder because that offensive line sucks. They are bad.
Ryder can play a little bit of guard too, but
Yeah,
it's whatever. Did you want to talk playoffs at all in any of the scenarios you were mentioning earlier?
yeah. So I guess this is the best first question. Who do you want to face the most, and who do you want to face the least?
Well, since the Raiders and Chargers are playing a play-in
Yes.
game, essentially, I would love for the Raiders to win that, and we get matched up against them. I would love to play the Raiders because I think that would be the easiest playoff game ever. The team I would least want to play, that's a tough one. I might say Chargers or I almost kind of want to say Buffalo just because even though they haven't been playing great, like I think they match up well against Kansas City, but
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, the Raiders would be a slam dunk. Like I would love to play the Raiders, but I actually just discovered this. They are playing in a play-in game essentially against the Chargers, but I think if they won, they would be the 6th seed because they have tiebreakers over the Colts, and the Colts would be the 7th seed. So we play the Colts in the first round of the playoffs. And everyone's
Yeah.
saying that the Colts are this great team, and I think Jonathan Taylor's that dude. But I don't think that Patrick Mahomes is going to lose at home to Carson Wentz. I can't see it. I just don't think that's going to happen. So Carson Wentz and the Colts don't scare me.
I
Go
well
ahead.
heck, and the Colts just lost today to the Raiders. Like
Yeah.
they rely I think they rely way too heavily on Jonathan Taylor, even though I love Jonathan Taylor, and a team that is run heavy against the Chiefs is just not a good matchup. I don't think it scares you besides Jonathan Taylor. Um, so that's not one that I'm scared of. And it's not like their defense is this vaunted unit. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not afraid of the Colts at all if that's what it ends up being.
Yeah, but you said it. But I mean, the Bills are built to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They've literally built their defense around beating us. Now they do have some
Hmm.
injuries. I think Tre'Davious White's out for the year, and they have suffered some,
Yeah.
I think O line injuries too. But the Bills are going to be, I think, a tough matchup. They should be a tough matchup. But I think you're right. The Chargers, for whatever reason, they fell to the Texans. It was bad. They lost by double digits, but they're still a divisional team. I get it. It's a new season in the playoffs, but something about playing the Chargers just doesn't sit right with me. I think that Herbert could go on and convert a lot of those fourth downs, or just play that style of game that we've had a lot of problems stopping. So best case scenario, the Raiders win on Sunday. Well, I guess best case scenario, we get the 1 seed if the Texans beat the Titans. But
Right.
um, honestly, like the only team that I would not want to face would probably be the Chargers. I think you could beat the Titans. I think that Derrick Henry, I guess, is coming back, but how effective is Derrick Henry going to be with a broken, like, he broke his toe?
That's what I'm worried about. His foot.
Yeah. So it's not realistic that he's going to come in and just drop 150 and 150 and one. Like, that's just, he's not going to go back to being the old Derrick Henry right away. It's not going to happen. I think you could beat the Bengals if you played him again, kind of like the Bucks and the Chiefs last year.
Yeah.
Chiefs got him in the first game. That's not how the second game went. And I mean, the third, the Patriots, the Patriots are kind of interesting because I think that Belichick is good enough to keep that game close, and their defense is really good. But I've been honest from the very beginning. I think if you need Mac Jones to win you a game, and a playoff game, he won't do it. He's not that guy. They are a Trojan horse, essentially. I'll let you speak because it sounds like you have some thoughts on that.
You know, so I'll kind of run down those three teams that you mentioned that I didn't. So Bengals, like, I think we're pretty much in the same boat on that. Like, look, this game today, the Chiefs should have won. They blew it in multiple ways. But if they played again, I'm pretty confident in the Chiefs in a rematch. And if the game is refed even remotely different than it was this time, the Chiefs win. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
scared of the Bengals in the playoffs.
Especially if you
The
double
Titans,
Jamar Chase. Sorry.
yeah. No, Spags has to learn from his mistakes there. But a lot of people are probably going to be upset that we didn't bring up the Titans at first. I think I'm cutting out. Am I
Yeah,
cutting out?
you were, but you're back now.
Okay. Anyway, what I was going to say is the Titans. A lot of people are probably upset we didn't bring up the Titans at first because people see them as a tough matchup. I mean, I'm kind of indifferent when it comes to the Titans because, like you said with Derrick Henry, I mean, he's going to be just coming off that foot injury. And I don't know if people have ever broken a foot or a leg before or whatever, but I mean, when you're in a cast for however long, you lose a lot of strength that you had in that leg. And you don't just gain all of it back as soon as you get out. And I just, it I don't see Derrick Henry, like you said, coming out and dropping 150 right away in his first game back.
Yeah.
Um, that said, he's still Derrick Henry. So I mean, you have to take him seriously, but uh, he'll probably have to come in a little bit slow. And then I know Mike Vrabel has owned Andy Reid in the past in the regular season, but we got him in the postseason in 2019, and I don't think their team is all that much better than that team the Chiefs played in the 2019 AFC Championship game. I think their defense is significantly worse than it was in that game. I also don't know what the deal is with Julio Jones. I think his body's breaking down right in front of our eyes. He's not the player that everyone think the Titans added at the beginning of the year. AJ Brown is the real one you got to watch. He killed the Chiefs in the first matchup. But that's because the Chiefs were putting Mike Hughes on him too. And Mike Hughes has been benched since then, and the Chiefs defense has been playing much better. I just think the second time around, I would see the Chiefs beating the Titans, and I don't see Patrick Mahomes losing to Ryan Tannehill. And just, that's a game I think the Chiefs win. Now, when it comes to the Patriots, man, I was so annoyed by the love fest that the media was giving the Patriots because they scream 2016 Chiefs to me. You know, that Chiefs team that lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the divisional round a few years back?
All field goals, baby.
Yeah, that's what they kind of remind me of. They're a team that can run the ball. They have a really good defense, but they have a game manager quarterback that doesn't put up a lot of points. And I know they did today against the Jaguars, but it's the freaking Jaguars
Yep.
with no head coach. Like, come on now. I'm not. You think that win impresses me? And I think a lot of the Patriots wins this year have been against, some poor competition. The Browns, the Falcons, the Titans without Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, and Antonio Brown or AJ Brown. I mean, those wins aren't impressive to me. I mean, yeah, the Patriots can run the ball a little bit, but if that's all you can do, the Chiefs have a good enough defense to make the Patriots have to throw. And if the Patriots have to throw to win, I just don't see them winning. Like, Mac Jones is fine, but people act like he's this revelation, and he's just not. Like, he's a fine quarterback, and he's good for a rookie. He doesn't make a ton of mistakes, but I'm not. Patriots don't scare me either. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
yeah,
mean,
Belichick. Now, look, Belichick's defense. He does seem to have Mahomes' number a little bit, but I still take the Chiefs in that matchup.
I would too, because it's as much as it's not a quarterback race, it is a quarterback race. Like, Patrick Mahomes has
Yeah.
only ever lost to Tom Brady in the playoffs. Think about that for a minute. He's only ever lost to Tom Brady. And I think that's because when you get in these games, you're going to have to go up against elite quarterbacks, because the quarterback is the most important position on the football field. And he hasn't really lost to a quarterback that has been elite. Now, I would argue that Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow are pretty damn good and could be that threat. But I also think that, there is levels to this. Like, the Chiefs might have lost to them in the regular season, but Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert don't have any playoff experience. It's a completely different thing. Like, some players thrive in it, but there's also players that do not thrive in it. And I'm going to tell you what, like, I like the Bengals a lot. I think that they've got a lot of good stuff going for them. Until they prove me otherwise, and just like the Chargers, the Bengals always found a way to bangle a game. The Chargers always found ways to charger a game. Like, they're still the same team until they can prove that they're not. They're still the same franchise. They're still the same teams that can't get it done when it really matters. I'm done.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, those are franchises that have consistently choked. Now, the Chiefs were a team that used to choke a lot, but since
Exactly.
Mahomes has been here, they're not a team that chokes. That's not them. That's not their identity. And the way the postseason works, the team with the better quarterback wins 90% of the time. And the Chiefs are going to have the better quarterback in almost 100% of the games they play in the postseason. And that's how
Yeah.
I look at it.
Yeah, and he's going to have to play at a high level. I mean, there's no doubt about that, but
Right.
when the games really matter, when does he not show up? I don't know if
Hmm.
there's a game that he doesn't. He
Yeah.
looked pretty good in that Super Bowl, but the team just kind of let him down. And I think that, honestly, you might go force feed Travis Kelce, kind of like you did against the Chargers. I think it was the first game or the second game. You force feeded Travis Kelce, and I think you got to kind of do the same thing, whether it's with Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce. Get those guys active early, because
Hmm.
that's going to have everybody else focused, and the defense is going to be drawn in towards stopping those guys. And then Mecole Hardman can catch a 50-yard bomb down the field like he did today. Like, there's
Yeah.
other guys that can step up. I thought Byron Pringle made a great catch in this game. Did you see that?
Yeah, the one that he high pointed.
Yeah, I thought that was phenomenal. Like, and Byron Pringle's really come onto the scene. So, like, if you as an offense can give more targets to Travis Kelce in the big two and get that opposing defense to focus more on them, it's going to allow other people to step up.
Well, the reason I was actually kind of excited to see the Chiefs play without Travis Kelce, and they kind of played without Tyreek Hill against the Steelers as well, because Tyreek didn't do much in that game and didn't play that much. But I was like, hey, this team, they're so used to forcing the ball to Kelsey and Hill, and they rely on Kelsey and Hill a lot. Mahomes, that's who he's comfortable going to. So against the Steelers, he had to find that guy that, like, you got to find someone else, like find comfort in another target, another weapon on this offense. And that guy was Byron Pringle. And that's why I expect Byron Pringle for the rest of the year to perform in that wide receiver 2 role and be someone that can actually do damage. And you just said it, like, he's come on to the scene as of recently. And I think if the Chiefs are going to make a deep playoff run, they're going to need someone else to step up besides Kelsey and Hill, and Byron Pringle might be that guy. And maybe Hardman, after being in the doghouse at one point, gets those big plays that he used to get all the time. We'll see.
I hope so, because honestly, I kind of forgot about Hardman, and I bet those opposing teams are starting to forget about him too, because he's very rarely targeted, and it seems like they're really trying to pick and choose when they do give him opportunities. But I think that, he should get not force fed, because I think that we've tried that before and it didn't work. But, today was the perfect example. Oh, he's deep downfield and he's open, throw it to him. And he caught the ball like that. That's kind of what I want to see more from him, is just get open. And if you can find a way to use your speed to your advantage and get open, go do it, because we could use another open guy down there.
Yeah. And look, maybe by some off chance, Josh Gordon emerges all of a sudden, because Andy Reid has promised us all year, and it's never really happened. But Andy Reid did promise it, and maybe he's waiting to make that promise in the playoffs. I have no idea, but I don't know. The Josh Gordon ship is like about to sail for me.
Yeah, or blow up in the harbor. We don't really know. It's not been great.
Blow up in the harbor.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie though. Really quickly, like Josh Gordon coming into this season, like we didn't think we were gonna get him. We didn't think that he was gonna do. I didn't think he was gonna have really any expectations. We were worried that he was not gonna be on the team for 2 weeks. So the fact that he was able to catch a touchdown, and he's great as a wide receiver, as a blocker. Yeah. He's one of the best we've got. Great blocker. But I think that Josh Gordon might not be putting up the stats, but I think the Josh Gordon experience has been a positive one. I really do. I think it was a good signing.
Yeah, for both parties. I mean, there was no risk in ever signing him, and there still isn't a risk. He hasn't, been a locker room cancer or anything that people were concerned about like that. Like, he's been perfectly fine. He's kept his nose clean. He seems to really like it in Kansas City. And I saw you tweet this, and I feel the exact same way. I feel bad for him, because I feel like he only gets targeted in the most impossible situations. And you would like him to make 1 or 2 of those tough catches, but these times that he gets targeted, they're really well defended, or it's just like, can you really blame him?
Oh, it's 3rd and long into the wind, and he made a double move that he didn't catch. It's like, dude, like if you are trying to get him involved in the offense, throw him some slants. Just get him acclimated to the offense. Don't make him go scramble and just hope that he can dive and catch the ball. Now, he's dropped a few. I mean, I'll say it firsthand, but Tyreek Hill's also dropped a lot of balls, and look where we're at right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, including that one today downfield. That was a killer.
Oh, my gosh.
That's one thing I forgot that I wanted to mention to you. Right before the end of the first half, the play after that Tyreek Hill drop. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but Andy Reid handed it off to Derek Gore up the middle for the last play of the half. And that's another thing that Reid has done before that I don't understand. If you're trying to score and then like that play happens where Tyreek Hill drops it, you still have a timeout left and you still have time to run a play. Why do you run up the middle with Derek Gore? Don't use a timeout after he goes down and just take it into half. Like, what's the point of running a play just to run a play? Like, I don't know if you saw it, but I just like it.
Yeah,
I don't understand what the approach is. Like, if you're not trying to score, just take a knee, but don't risk someone getting hurt and just run a bullshit play. Like, if either score or don't.
That's my thing. Like, at that point, I'm all for going for it. Like in that throw to Tyreek Hill. Like, if he would have caught that ball, they would have at least kicked a field goal. But I'm all for going for it in that situation. But there's 8 seconds left. you're not going to get it realistically. The best thing you could do is just take a knee and let the clock expire. You're going into the half. At that point, you're up, what, 28-21, I want to say, or you were up by at least a touchdown. And
Yeah, it was like
the,
yeah, I think you're right, 28-21.
like there was no point in trying to run the ball. Like I guess it's just so it's not a negative yardage situation, or it just lets Derek Gore get an opportunity. But like it just seems kind of stupid. You've had enough injuries already. Why are you running a play?
Yeah. I don't know. I just didn't understand that, and I wanted to get your take on it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. If you wanted to add anything else.
No, that's all I got too. It was a frustrating game, but I think if like a lot of the losses that we saw earlier this season, like we play them again, I'm still going to be confident you can win every single game. You can beat every single team. It's just going to be a question of adjusting and making or learning from your mistakes. And I think that they will, but until that time comes, they're going to have to take care of business, likely going on the road. Oh, shoot. Is he frozen?
We had to
There
cut
you
out
are.
one last time before we ended it.
Okay. Well, what perfect. But I basically just said, uh, they can learn from their mistakes. I still think they would beat the Bengals again if we played them. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But until then, they're going to have to take care of business next week against the Broncos.
Yep, and I think they will. And I also think Brett Ripien might be starting in that game. So yeah, I'm not too
Oh,
concerned about
gosh.
that. But yeah, that's all I got. So thanks again for joining everyone. Me and Michael put this together last minute because I really wanted to do something with him since it's been a while. So it's glad to have everyone back in here. Hopefully we can get Lucas Murphy, the beat of KC, doing some stuff with us too soon. But I'll link Michael's social media and channel in the description. You guys can go follow him and check out his stuff. He's been killing it lately, but make sure you like, share it, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And we will see y'all in the next one.